The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Anthony Hardwig under the weather, and we'll certainly keep our fingers crossed. Hope he is able to come back and join us on Wednesday. With you till 3 o'clock, Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a new or slightly used automobile, do check out the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. I've been saying this for a while. The secret to success when it comes to car dealerships, you got to have a great sales department, a great finance department, and a fantastic service department, and Greenwood Chevrolet has all three. So do yourself a favor. If you're in the market for a new or slightly used automobile, check out the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. So at about, I'd say close to about 4:15 yesterday afternoon, my feet were starting to feel very chilly. As my feet were on the ground, my feet were suddenly getting very, very chilly, and it occurred to me that perhaps hell froze over. I mean, that's the only thing that you can describe the fact that the Cleveland Browns are finally in the postseason after 18 years. Hell is officially frozen over. But on a great note, thanks to the Bills' victory over the Dolphins, the Browns get to play the Steelers again. And depending on which fan base you root for, the two fan bases have one very interesting thing in common. They both think that this matchup this weekend is the easiest road to hoe for their respective franchises. It's an interesting take. It'll be an interesting game, and well, let's be honest. I mean, if the Browns are going to be in the playoffs, you might as well play the team that you hate the most. No disrespect to the Ravens. So it's going to be feeling like old times. I mean, the last time the Browns were in the playoffs, 2002 season, January 2003. Who did they play? The Steelers. Where did they play? Pittsburgh. Okay, there you go. Should be a great time. I think that game was in Pittsburgh. Man, it might have been in Cleveland. Who knows? Regardless, it should be fun. It should be entertaining, and the suits, they know a good thing when they see it. Browns and Steelers, we'll take that on Sunday night, no problem. So the final game of the postseason this weekend in the NFL playoffs, and I believe they're calling this the Super Wild Card Weekend because you've added a team, and now the only teams that get a bye week this year are the top seeds, so congratulations to Kansas City and Green Bay. They're in the divisional playoffs, and it really doesn't matter what happens. They're in the divisional playoffs, and they will take on the lowest seed available. And by lowest seed, we mean anywhere from 7, 6, 5, or 4. That would be the divisional playoff opponent for Kansas City or Green Bay. If it's chalk, Kansas City would play Tennessee. If Baltimore were to upset Tennessee and there were no more upsets, Kansas City would play Baltimore. If Cleveland upset Pittsburgh and there were no other upsets, Buffalo beat Indianapolis, Tennessee beats Baltimore, then Kansas City would play the Browns. If Indianapolis upset Buffalo, they would be playing Kansas City without any question, because they're the 7 seed and you don't get lower than the 7 seed. And by the way, that's a distinct possibility. I'll throw that out there right now. I looked at the opponent, and the first thing that I thought of was, well, this is going to be a challenging game, and there's no two ways about it. It's going to be a fun game. I mean, Indianapolis has an unbelievably talented offensive line. They've got a fantastic defense, and oh, by the way, they got a running back that's been kicking ass and taking names the last 7 games. Mr. Taylor is not a bad running back. So should be a fun game, regardless. And I thought this was pretty interesting. Yesterday was the 28th anniversary of the greatest postseason comeback in the history of the National Football League. Buffalo down 35-3 in the third quarter. Frank Reich, who played the game for Jim Kelly, led the Bills on an insane comeback. They wind up beating the Oilers at the time, 41-38. And here comes Frank Reich coming back to the scene of the crime, if you will. Exactly 28 years after pulling off the greatest miracle in the history of the National Football League, Frank Reich and his Indianapolis Colts was announced. They'll go to Orchard Park on Saturday. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, this should be fun. This is going to be one of those postseasons where, honest to God, anything could happen. The matchups for the playoffs are going to be insane. It's just absolutely insane, and nothing would surprise me. Absolutely nothing would surprise me. We got numbers in terms of what these 7 teams in each conference have done against playoff opponents, stripping away their divisional success because, the AFC North have 3 teams in the postseason. The AFC South has 2 teams in the postseason. The NFC South has 2 teams in the postseason. The NFC West has 2 teams in the postseason. The NFC North has 2 teams in the postseason. So we have postseason records, and then we have postseason records outside of your division, which I think is pretty entertaining. We'll get to those numbers as well. And we'll also throw out the numbers that matter in terms of whether you're planning on putting any kind of money on the game or not. Cleveland and Pittsburgh, the line opened up last night at 3.5. It's already up to 4. Browns are a 4-point underdog. The over-under in this game is 46.5, which screams take the over, by the way. The Steelers yesterday, I thought Mason Rudolph played a hell of a game. I did. I thought he played a really nice game. 22 of 39, 315 yards. Ben will be back, so will most of the team, and it should be fun. Hopefully, the Browns will get back some of their DBs because it was abundantly apparent that they were missing some DBs. So, should be an entertaining game, and we'll definitely talk about it today. Disturbing over the weekend over at Beagley. Disturbing for the YSU men. They lost to a winless basketball team in the back end of their two-game series with Green Bay. This was a bad loss for the Penguins over the weekend. They lose to Green Bay in the back end of their back-to-back game against the Phoenix, 79-69, and Green Bay gets their first victory in conference play. That was a tough loss for the Penguins. And truth be told, I thought Green Bay outworked them. I really thought they outworked them, especially in the second half. They outscored the Penguins 47-36, and they clearly wanted the game more. And the road doesn't get much easier for the YSU men. They're going to be traveling to Wright State to take on, arguably, other than Cleveland State, the best team in the Horizon League, and that was a tough loss. No two ways about it. Hopefully, the Penguins are going to be able to get at least one at Wright State. The YSU women, they played Wright State, and Wright State's a very good team. This one of the favorites in the division. I don't think there's any two ways about it. And the Penguins were playing their first two games of the season. The YSU women were, and I thought they looked really good in game number one. They turned the ball over an awful lot, 21 times in game number one, and that's kind of sort of to be expected. But I thought defensively they brought it against Wright State. Unfortunately, they came up on the short end of a 57-53 game. The second game, they were just manhandled in the second half by Wright State. They were outscored 36-17 in the second half. Wright State picked up the victory 54-39. Penguins just could not buy a basket in the second half. They were a combined 5 of 20 in the second half. That's 25%, and you're just not going to get actually, that's 20%. No, let me back up a second. 5 out of 20. That is 25%. And you're just not going to win many ball games when you're shooting 25% from the floor, especially in three-point range where the Penguins have been very good. They struggled in the second half. They were 2 of 11, under 20% from three-point range in the second half. And that just, for the game, they shot a tick under 28% from the field, 26% from three-point range. Even though they went 9 of 10 from the free throw line, they were outplayed in the second half. Wright State is a fantastic basketball team, and it was unfortunate that the Penguins had to open up their season with a team as good as Wright State. But them's the breaks. You play with what the schedule maker is telling you to play, and it is what it is. So hopefully the Penguins will get off the schneid. They have Oakland at Beagley Friday and Saturday. The game times have not been announced yet, and hopefully the Penguins will be able to get a full week of practice, stay away from COVID naturally, and hopefully even the record up at 2 wins and 2 losses in the league. Speaking of COVID, we go back to the NFL for a second. Yeah, there was talk early on that the divisional playoffs would go to one city, and everyone would be in a bubble, the 4 teams. And whoever won the divisional playoffs, those 2 teams would stay in the bubble. The 2 teams that lost, obviously eliminated, so they go home, and their season is over. That is not going to be the case. The National Football League is going to play the postseason as is. Whether you have fans or not, that's another story. But everything is going to go as is. So the road to the AFC Championship game goes through Kansas City as of right now. Now, if the Chiefs were to be upset in the divisional playoffs, then the road would go to Buffalo. If Buffalo and Kansas City both get upset, then the road to the playoffs and the Super Bowl in the AFC would go through Pittsburgh. And you just simply, if the top seed gets beat, you check down to the second seed. If both of them get beat, you check to the third seed, and so on and so on and so on. The only team that does not have any shot at any home game whatsoever, the 7 seeds in each conference, that would be the Indianapolis Colts and the Chicago Bears. Those are the only 2 teams that have no chance at a home game in any way, shape, or form. The 2 6 seeds, the Browns, the Rams, the only chance that they have of hosting a game would be the AFC or NFC championship game, and it would have to be against the 7 seed. Likewise, the 5 seed, the only way they host a playoff game is if they were to play the 6 or the 7. The 4 seed, the only way they can host a playoff game, you get the idea. They would have to host the 5, the 6, or the 7. You get the idea. We'll go through the matchups, and again, 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. I got to imagine there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be watching all kinds of football. And then if you go into Monday, the national championship game, which Ohio State will be a part of. They beat the stuffing out of Clemson, and let's just say karma paid a really, really nice visit to one Dabo Swinney on New Year's night, and I don't know about you, but I enjoyed the hell out of that, and I'm not a Buckeye fan. As for Notre Dame, they lost to Alabama. They lost by 17. Brian Driscoll will be on Wednesday, and look, it's the same old story. Notre Dame is, into the Final Four, and they're not good enough at one position to get the job done. And unfortunately for Notre Dame, that one position is the single most important position in the game, and that's the quarterback. You don't have a quarterback to throw the ball down the field and let their receivers or let his receivers do something, you're not going to win, especially against a team like Alabama or Clemson or Ohio State for that matter. Unfortunately, Ian Book just same old Ian, same old Notre Dame. And they wind up losing to Alabama by 17. At least they covered. But make no mistake about it, they were blown out. And let's also, even though they covered, let me just also say this without any hesitation. Alabama stepped off the gas pedal. This game could have very easily been a 30-point loss. They stepped off the gas pedal. If you're a Notre Dame fan, please don't make the mistake of thinking, oh, hey, we were within 17 of Alabama. We're improving. No, you're not. You still got your ass kicked. You should have gotten your ass kicked a whole lot more, and you're going to continue to get your ass kicked until you get a quarterback that actually has the stones to throw the ball down the field. Now, I'm not saying that any of his receivers were insanely open, but there were plenty of guys that were open. Now, it's a tight window. Don't get me wrong, it's a tight window. There were plenty of receivers that were open, but it's a tight window, and unfortunately, Ian Book just didn't want to throw the ball down the field I don't know if it was for fear of making a mistake. I don't know. Frankly, I don't care. I'm just glad he's now gone, and hopefully Notre Dame will bring in someone that actually has the stones to throw the ball into a tight window. Mistakes be damned. I'd much rather have that than someone who's passive. Just my opinion. Be that as it may, Alabama plays Ohio State, so between Saturday, Sunday, and the national championship game on Monday, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be OD'd on football by late Monday, early Tuesday morning, and, it might not be a great weekend for Ohio folks. Listen, I think the Browns have a very good chance at beating Pittsburgh, but a lot of things have to go right. And the biggest of which is you just got to get this whole they own us in Pittsburgh mentality out of the picture. You have the tools to beat Pittsburgh. Whether you use them properly or not, that remains to be seen. Should be a fun game. Monday night, look, let me just, without sounding like a hater, and I get accused of it all the time by Buckeye fans, and hopefully this makes sense for Buckeye fans and even the non-Buckeye fans. Ohio State played New Year's night an unbelievably great game. And they did so thanks in large part because this was personal. This wasn't just any, okay, we're going to play and we're going to play Buckeye football and we're going to do, no. This was personal. Make no mistake about this. Ohio State had never beaten Clemson in the history of their meetings. last year's game, a lot of folks believed Ohio State should have beaten Clemson, and they were robbed. I don't necessarily buy that. Look, I mean, you didn't score touchdowns. You kicked field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. And then, okay, the call may have been weird, but you still gave up all kinds of points in the second half. Regardless, it was a winnable game, and you didn't get the job done. A lot of folks would have sat back and said, hey, man, we were the better team. Well, you didn't get the job done. But there's an argument there. Add on top of that the fact that Dabo Swinney not only disrespected Ohio State by saying they don't belong in the playoffs, then he made the unbelievably ignorant decision to put Ohio State at number 11 in his coaches poll, because all the coaches have a say in this, hence the coaches poll. And Dabo Swinney picked Ohio State number 11. Now, add all of that up, and Ohio State made New Year's night's game personal. Make no mistake about this. That was a personal vendetta that they erased against Clemson. They played angry, and it wasn't business. I'm going to throw a line from The Godfather. This wasn't business. This was personal. Ohio State wanted to throw down a beatdown of all epic proportions against Clemson, and they did it, mainly because this was personal. My point being, they don't have anything personal against Alabama, nor will they, because Nick Saban isn't stupid. And I don't think Ohio State plays up to that level against Alabama. In short, I think Alabama wins the national championship game because Ohio State's not going to be able to play with that personal feel that they had on Friday nights against Clemson. Let's go to the phone lines, 330-886-0813. Rich, what's going on, brother?
Good afternoon, young man and other young man.
Well, other young man is out. He wasn't feeling good today, so we're fingers are crossed and hoping that he's okay by Wednesday.
Go, Anthony. All right. Great Buckeye game.
It was. And like I said, I said this a couple minutes ago, and maybe you'll agree with this, maybe not, Rich. I think that Friday's game was personal. And I think Ohio State played like a team that was wanting to beat Clemson, and they took it personally that all of this stuff happened. And that's why I think Ohio State was able to put 49 on Clemson. This game was very personal for the Buckeyes.
Got a question for you.
Yes.
Has our new coach for Ohio State played Alabama in any championship series yet?
No.
Okay, then he's on a quest. Have any of the players that are on the current roster played against Alabama in any postseason games?
Well, the last time they won the national title was 2014, so I'm going to say no.
Okay, so I guess not. Okay. Well, then it's a whole new deck of cards. This is our new head coach's turn to make a statement.
No, it definitely
doesn't have to be personal.
No, but by the same token, I don't expect Ohio State to play anywhere close to the game that they played against Clemson. Again, the reason being they don't look at Alabama with as much hatred as the Buckeyes do against Clemson. That game against Clemson was personal. They have nothing personal against Alabama in any way, shape, or form, nor will they, because Nick Saban isn't stupid enough to do what Dabo Swinney did.
Well, that's true. On the same token, the last time Ohio State beat Alabama, they were underdogs.
They were.
So there you go. So I'll take the odds.
All right.
That being said, a great day, man. Did Buffalo play Youngstown East yesterday, or did the other team even show up? Oh my God!
Yeah, they. It was interesting. I was thinking a couple of series, and then the starters would come out. No, Buffalo kept them in for the first half, and then they took out a lot of their franchise caliber players. And look, Miami's going to be a fun team to watch for years to come, and they have the number 3 pick overall in the 2021 draft, thanks to the.
Who do you see him taking?
Well, that's a good question, and honestly, I have no idea how this is going to work. By the way, news just breaking out of Cleveland, and it is a very tough blow for the Browns. Olivier Vernon just tore his Achilles. That was just announced. So obviously, Vernon is out for the playoffs, and the pass rushing will now go down to one Myles Garrett. Olivier Vernon out for the entire playoffs. Ruptured Achilles occurred in yesterday's loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well,
in their victory, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I understand. In all respect, the people who have been plugging in for all the starters have been doing a pretty good job. So let's just keep that going.
Well, and again, I mean, it's you're gonna need all the healthy bodies out there, because the Steeler team is not going to be bringing in a bunch of second and third teamers on Sunday night. This is going to be a little bit of a different matchup, and I'm not to say that the Browns don't have a chance. I think the Browns have a very good chance of winning this game. It's just they're going to have to allow Hunt and Chubb, and honestly, I think it's Chubb and Hunt to be the focal point of this offense, with a little bit of Baker and the receivers splashed in. But I think it needs to be a run-oriented offense.
I saw some great coaching with both teams yesterday, and this had nothing to do with the play on the field, but they held out players for the big game.
Yeah, and I don't think that either team showed their hand at all, because I think both teams realized there was a very good chance they would see each other in the first round of the playoffs. So I think that both coaches did a real nice job of keeping their cards in the vest.
Oh, yeah, and hats off to Stefanski. This guy is showing tenure in his first year of coaching. How far it goes, I don't know, but right now, Coach of the Year, that's for me.
Well,
not that matters. It doesn't matter whether he gets it or not. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think that now that Miami didn't get into the playoffs, I think that it's clear that Stefanski is Coach of the Year, and I thought he did a fantastic job with this team. And this was kind of what I was talking about when I said 2 years ago, before the 2018 season, after the Browns had gone 0-16 after the 2017 campaign, I had said, listen, even though this was the worst of the worst, the Browns could very well be a playoff team in 2020. And I could hear the snickering when I was throwing down the scenario, but truth be told, the Browns followed it pretty much to a T, and they're in the postseason.
I was in your corner, brother, and we had no idea we'd end up with Stefanski, which is icing on the cake, brother.
It was a good, solid hire. I wasn't necessarily agreeing with Haslam to get rid of Dorsey as the GM, but all's well that ends well. They did a nice job.
He brought some great talent here, and too bad he had to suffer through the coaching snafu. And in the meantime, our new guy got more talent and got things set up with the coach. We're in a win-win situation. Both guys have served us well.
Well, I think that if Cleveland happens to beat Pittsburgh and they hopefully play Kansas City, because obviously I want my Bills to win, so assuming my Bills win and Cleveland pulls off an upset, then the Browns would play Kansas City. The Bills would get the winner of Baltimore and Tennessee. So
I called it before postseason, and that would be the Bills and the Browns in the AFC Championship. Don't count it out.
Well, it's
don't count it out, brother.
The only way they see each other would be the AFC title game. So
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, it absolutely would be great. I always hate it when these two teams play each other, and I was really hoping that the Bills wouldn't play the Browns in the first round, because I never feel good when those two teams play each other, because I got all kinds of respect for the Browns and Browns fans, and I watch them when I'm not able to watch the Bills. So obviously it's I don't like it when these two teams play each other. But now that it's the playoffs, hey, look, if they see each other in the title game, that would be great. Probably not, but it would be fun if they did see each other. But look, There's one team on my mind, and only one, and that's Indianapolis, and this will be a tough battle for the Bills.
Well, like you said here just a few minutes ago, that the Browns haven't shown their hands yet, and Stefanski has been holding back on showing more every game. There's going to be some new stuff coming this week, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Well, here's the one thing that I really hope Stefanski avoids doing, and he's had a habit of this the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you've noticed or not. Nick Chubb has been on the sideline in crunch time. And for the life of me, I don't get that. I don't understand it. Now, having said that, Kareem Hunt, when Mayfield ran for the first down that salted the game away officially, that was a hell of a block that Kareem Hunt laid down for Mayfield to spring himself in to get the first down. Without that block, Mayfield gets tackled short of the first down, and then who knows what happens.
Hunt is equally as good as Chubb. He just have alternate talent. He's awesome.
Well, I don't think he's nearly as good as Chubb when it comes to running the football.
But his alternative talent is as good or better.
I think he's a better blocker, and that might be the reason why he was in the game in crunch time. But, again, if it were me, I'd have both of those guys in the lineup at some point in time and just go from there. But, obviously you could have a package, and who knows, maybe they do have a package with both of these guys in the lineup. I think that the offense would be even more dangerous if both of these guys were somehow in the lineup at the same time.
A note on both quarterbacks that played last night or yesterday's game. Mason has shown some maturity. I don't care for the guy, but kid had a hell of a game yesterday.
Yeah, he did. It was a nice game for Rudolph. A couple of touchdown passes in the fourth quarter, threw for over 300 yards. And I thought one of the things that kind of went unnoticed, Myles Garrett went up to him after the game, and they exchanged pleasantries in a good way. And I thought it was a good way to bury the hatchet. And hopefully nobody talks about that crap anymore.
Well, you know what? The national media keeps showing that fight from last year over and over. Like, bury it already, Bury it.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it got buried the moment Garrett and Rudolph met after the game and exchanged pleasantries. And as far as I'm concerned, all of that is now part of the past.
Thank God. On a note for Baker, pretty good game yesterday. He's finally seeing how to scramble when he has to, instead of throwing it away or trying to force the ball in for an interception. The kid has matured, man.
Yeah, he has. There's a couple of things I want to see, a couple more things I want to see from him. But he did a real nice job managing the game yesterday. Didn't turn the ball over, didn't throw a pick, and we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be a different Steelers defense. Obviously, it'll be a different Steelers defensive line. This is a challenge for the Browns. No two ways about it.
We're going to see how well our coaching staff is prepared.
Absolutely.
All right, young man, thank you. I'll be in touch with you. Have a great day.
All right, man, you too.
By the way, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. Okay, so here's the lineup on Saturday. You'll start out Indianapolis at Buffalo, the 1 o'clock game, actually 1:05. I love how the National Football League now starts putting in the real time, because games don't start at 1 o'clock. They always start at 1:05. I mean, it's scheduled on the air at 1 o'clock, but they don't start the game at 1. They started at 1:05. So now that we're in the playoffs, now we're going to get the exact time period. I don't know why, but whatever. Indianapolis at Buffalo will lead things off on Saturday. The middle game, the Rams at Seattle. This should be an entertaining game. And I think it's going to be a defensive war between these two teams. That game will get underway at 4:40 up in Seattle. And then Saturday night, no surprise, you got to get TB12 in the national spotlight. Tampa Bay will be in Washington to play the Washington football team. The team formerly known as the Redskins won the division last night. I chuckle when I say this because let's just say that Philadelphia, they made some interesting decisions. They lose to the Washington football team 20-14, and Philadelphia denies the New York Giants an opportunity to go to the playoffs based on these very entertaining and interesting decisions of theirs. Look, if you're a Giants fan, you can't bitch too much. I mean, good God, you finished 6-10. Can you really complain about Philadelphia not, in your mind, not shelling out the best talent? I mean, you finished 6-10. Really? Washington 7-9. They host Tampa Bay. Tampa won 11 games, but because Washington won the pathetic NFC East for the fourth time since 2002, a sub-500 divisional winner will go to the actually a sub-winning divisional record. Non-winning divisional record. I have to throw this out. There were two sub-500 teams, two teams since 2002 that finished at 8-8 that won the division and went to the playoffs. So this is, the fifth team since 2002 to have a non-winning record, and they will play host to Tampa Bay on Saturday night. That game is at 8:15 on Saturday night. Then on Sunday afternoon, Baltimore is at Tennessee. The middle game is Chicago at New Orleans. By the way, the Baltimore-Tennessee game starting at 1:05. The Chicago-New Orleans game will start at 4:40. And then Sunday night, it'll be the Browns and the Steelers in Pittsburgh. That game will start at 8:15. As far as the wise guys go, the Bills, that opened at 7, and that's where we are right now. Bills opening up as a touchdown favorite against Indianapolis. Seattle opened up as a 4.5-point favorite. That's where they are. Who knows what's going to happen with the Rams, whether Goff plays or not. Tampa Bay and Washington opened up at 7.5. That game is now up to 8. Tampa Bay is a 8-point road favorite at Washington. Sunday, Baltimore opened up a 4.5-point favorite on the road at Tennessee. That number has been dropped to 3.5. New Orleans is by far and away the biggest favorite this weekend. They were favored by 10.5 points, and that number is now down to 9.5. But they are, without question, the biggest favorite of the 6 games. New Orleans is the biggest favorite against the Chicago Bears. And again, New Orleans opened up as a 10.5-point favorite against the Chicago Bears. That number is down a point, now at 9.5. And the Browns and Steelers, that line opened up at 3.5. Steelers were a 3.5-point favorite. It is currently, the Steelers are a 4-point favorite to beat Cleveland. So there you go. So those are the lines. The favorites in the games: Buffalo, Seattle, and Tampa on Saturday. Baltimore, New Orleans, and Pittsburgh are the favorites on Sunday. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business. We'll take a timeout, be back with more. It is a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. We're back in a bit.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts
Boy is recovering from a broken
around our valley.
Community in Niles.
We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect
It's important for everyone.
No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County
Before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our Valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
To Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Points, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. News just breaking out of Orchard Park. The Buffalo Bills have signed Kenny Stills, the speedy wide receiver, signed him to their practice squad. Now, I don't know what exactly that means. It's twofold for me. John Brown had a wonderful first half and then was not in the lineup in the second half. It suffered an arm injury or an apparent arm injury after an interception, and I don't know if that is a sign, pun intended, that Brown is going to be out for a while, and or maybe they're just signing Stills just to be on the safe side, just in case something were to happen to one of their receivers. I'm not sure, but Kenny Stills just signed a contract with the Bills. Speedy wideout who played most of the season for the Houston Texans and then was released I don't know, week 12, somewhere around there, week 12, week 11, somewhere in that vicinity. Anyway, Kenny Stills just signed a deal with the Buffalo Bills for their practice squad, and be interesting to see if he is activated when the Bills play Saturday afternoon against Indianapolis. All right, speaking of the playoff teams, we made mention, now that we know who all is in the playoffs, it's always fun to look at the team's records against playoff opponents. And then if you get away from the division, outside of your division, what was your playoff record? Kansas City is the number 1 seed. They were 4-0 against playoff teams from the AFC as well as the NFC. The Chiefs at 4-0. Bills 3-2. So a good record. Steelers have a 5-3 record. Half of their season was played against teams that ultimately went to the postseason. Now, The caveat with that is the fact that 4 of those 8 games were played in their division, Baltimore and Cleveland, where the Steelers went a combined 3-1. Take away the division, the Steelers went 2-2 outside of the AFC North when taking on playoff teams. But again, the Steelers, half of their schedule this year was postseason teams. That's not too shabby. 5-3, but if you take away their 3-1 record in the division, take away the meetings with the Ravens and the Browns, the Steelers went 2-2 against playoff teams outside of the AFC North. Interesting. Tennessee Titans, much like the Steelers, half of their games this year against postseason teams. The Titans went 4-4. Now, one other team in the AFC South went to the postseason, and that's Indianapolis. They split with Tennessee, so take the 1-1 record away. Outside of the AFC South, Tennessee saw 6 teams that are in the postseason. They beat 3 of them. They lost 3 of them. Baltimore Ravens, 4-4 against playoff caliber teams, half of their season. And again, 4 of the 8 teams were Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Baltimore went 2-2 against the 2 teams. They beat the Browns twice. They lost to the Steelers twice. So the Ravens' record outside of the AFC North against postseason opponents, 2-0. Check out the Cleveland Browns for a second. Cleveland Browns played 7 games this year against playoff teams. Browns went 4-3. The record is even more impressive if you take away the AFC North. Browns split with Pittsburgh, lost 2 to the Ravens. If you take away the 1-2 record, or I'm sorry, the 1-3 record against the AFC North, Cleveland Browns were 3-0 outside of their division against postseason opponents. Browns beat the Colts, the Titans, and the Washington football team. All right, the Colts 3-4 in against playoff teams this year. 1-1 against the Titans. So if you take that away, outside of the AFC South, the Colts went 2-3. The team with the fewest amount of games played against postseason teams, the Kansas City Chiefs. The team with the best record, the Kansas City Chiefs. The teams with the most games played against postseason teams, the Steelers, the Titans, and the Ravens, played half of their games against postseason opponents. Thought it was pretty interesting. Over in the NFC, Green Bay Packers played 6 games this year against postseason opponents. They went 4-2. Now, one other team from the NFC North went to the playoffs, and that would be the Chicago Bears. Green Bay went 2-0 against Chicago. So outside of the NFC North against postseason teams, Packers went just 2-2. New Orleans Saints, 3-2. Played 5 games against postseason teams. New Orleans Saints went 3-2. Now, there's one other team in the NFC South that went to the playoffs, Tampa Bay. New Orleans got 2 of their 3 victories against Tampa. So if you take away the 2-0 record against Tampa, outside of the NFC South, the New Orleans Saints just 1-2 against postseason teams this year. Seattle Seahawks played 4 games against postseason teams, whether it be the AFC or the NFC. Seattle went 2-2. Now, they split with the other team out of the NFC West that's in the postseason. That would be the Los Angeles Rams. So the Seahawks, outside of their division, played 2 opponents, 2 playoff opponents, and they won 1 and lost 1. The Washington football team played 5 games against playoff opponents. Washington went 1-4. And since nobody qualified for the postseason, other than the Redskins, I knew I was going to do it. Other than the Washington football team, the Washington football team's record, 1-4. Tampa Bay, 1-5. all 5 of their losses this year have come against playoff teams. 1-5. Now, if you take away the 0-2 record against the Saints outside of their division, Tampa Bay went 1-3 against postseason teams. The Los Angeles Rams went 4-2 against playoff teams. 1-1 against Seattle, so outside of the NFC West, the Los Angeles Rams went 3-1. And finally, the Chicago Bears. Bears played 7 games against playoff opponents. Chicago went 1-6 this year. 2 of those losses occurred in the division against Green Bay. So if you took those 2 losses out, the Bears are still 1-4 against the rest of the outside of the NFC North. Bears are 1-4 against playoff teams outside of the NFC North. So the best record actually tied the Packers and the Rams. Both teams were 4-2. Saints were 3-2, Seahawks 2-2, and then you got Washington 1-4, Tampa 1-5, Chicago 1-6. In the AFC, the Chiefs 4-0. The Bills and Browns kind of sort of in a tie. Bills went 3-2, Browns went 4-3. Actually, the Steelers are a little better than the Browns, 5-3. So I'd put the Steelers at number 2. The Bills and Browns kind of sort of tied for third. You get 2 teams at 500 in the Titans and the Ravens, and the Colts at 3-4. AFC is, man, that's going to be fun. All kinds of crazy. And it, again, it would not surprise me. All 7 of these teams have a legitimate gripe, or not a gripe, but a legitimate claim to make a deep run into the playoffs. All 7 of them do. You look in the NFC, okay. Look, I mean, Washington has history on their side because there's 4 teams since 2002 that have either won 8 games or less. 8 wins or less. It's happened 4 times since 2002. And in all 4 games, the team with the non-winning record has won their first round game, mainly because they've played that game at home. And Washington is hoping to make it 5, hoping to continue that trend, but they got to take on Tampa Bay. Washington and Chicago are 2 teams that don't really have a claim. No offense. Neither one of these teams have much of a claim. I mean, the Bears are, 8-8? They got into the playoffs at 8-8. They wouldn't even sniff the playoffs if they were in the AFC. And Washington got in at 7-9, mainly because their division's caca. The other teams, okay. I mean, Tampa Bay hasn't played very well against postseason teams this year, but Tampa Bay's starting to play better. If the Rams get Goff healthy, maybe. Seattle, look, Russell Wilson is, as long as he doesn't get hurt, they're always going to be in a game. Saints, obviously, they're a pretty solid team, and the Packers, they're the number 1 seed. Need we say more? It'd be fun. Not as fun as the AFC, because the AFC is far more talented than the NFC. I would venture to say the top seed in the NFC, Green Bay, is probably the 3rd best team in the NFL, behind Kansas City and Buffalo. But, the road to the Super Bowl goes through Lambeau. Yeah, especially if there's snow on the ground and Rodgers is just such a beast in Green Bay. Man, that'll be fun to watch. It will be fun to watch. So should be a good time. This is certainly a great season. In a lot of ways, it was a great season. Obviously, love the fact that the NFL was able to play all of their games. I think that's probably the biggest plus is the fact that the NFL were able to play all of their games, which I think is just going to be that was just an unbelievable success in and of its own self. But the postseason, now that you're not going to have any bubble, none of that. Top seed's going to have a home game. If the 2 seed wins their game, they're going to have a home game in the divisional playoffs. If the 2 seed doesn't win, then the 3 seed. If they win, then they would have home field in the second round of the playoffs. But what we know for sure, Kansas City and Green Bay are going to have a home game next weekend. What we don't know is, well, everything else. And it'll be fun to watch these 3 games per day, Saturday and Sunday. And again, go right into Monday night because Buckeyes are playing for a national championship against Alabama on Monday night. This can be football crazy. Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. All right, we're going to take a timeout. On the other end, we will hear from 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. We'll get his take on what happened over the weekend. Again, Youngstown State splitting with Green Bay. Green Bay came into this weekend winless. And the Green Bay men, they outworked and outplayed Youngstown State in the second half, and they get a victory over the Penguins. And that road for the Penguins, it does not get any easier as the Penguins have to travel to take on arguably the best team, other than Cleveland State, the best team in this conference, that being Wright State. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the Penguins are going to be able to get at least a split at another center in Dayton. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, the YSU women. And something that we really haven't brought up, but, we've talked an awful lot about. Now the calendar is flipped to 2021, thank God. The schools that didn't get an opportunity to play basketball or any of their winter sports in the month of December. How aggressive are these schools going to be in terms of games being played? Are they going to play 3 or 4 games a week? Are they going to put the foot on the gas pedal and limit the amount of practices and just play games instead of practices? This is going to be an interesting look in the next week or two from the Trumbull County schools and Cheney and East. I'll be very curious to see what these 2 programs or what the Trumbull County schools and the Youngstown City schools, what they are going to do in terms of trying to make up as many winter sports events as humanly possible. We'll talk about that with Dana Balish from TV 21. That's coming up after this timeout. It is a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you. Checking in on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, we find 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron. Yourself?
I'm doing good. I got a question. And now that we have flipped the calendar to 2021, and obviously Youngstown East and Youngstown Cheney are now free to open up their winter sports season, and the Trumbull County schools have been available to play their winter sports season. How aggressive do you think those schools are going to be in terms of trying to get as many basketball games or as many winter sporting events as possible on the schedule?
Well, I think you have to use some common sense, Ron. I mean, you got to keep in mind, look, these players haven't played in a game. I think athletic directors and coaches are going to do their best to try to play maybe 3 times a week. I mean, you get into 4 games a week, I mean, it's going to be tough. I just think, you got to use some common sense. I mean, 16 Trumbull County schools, at least 16 Trumbull County schools are in action tonight on the girls' side. You want to get, half your season in, I guess, 13 or 14 games in before the tournament begins in 6 weeks or 7 weeks. So I think, look, it's going to be a common sense thing. One program in Mahoning County has had to shut back down because of COVID. So, I just think you have to be smart, and certainly you have to use common sense when it comes to this thing. I don't think it's the number of games. I think it's let's be safe and play the right amount of games.
Dana, is that Mahoning County School? Is that information open to the public, or is that we're not at liberty to say what school it is?
Well, I've received word, Ron. I haven't received anything officially from the school just yet. So let me see if I have anything to update that on. Excuse me. Let's see. I guess I can't tell you the Lowville girls basketball team is in quarantine.
That's a tough break for Lisa Rotuno-Medelski, as we've had a couple of their games, or I've called a couple of their games. Not a bad basketball team, but again, we're 6 weeks between now and the start of the girls' high school tournaments. The girls' tournaments always start 1 week prior to the boys, because they always keep the girls 1 week ahead of the guys. So there's 6 weeks of basketball to be played up until the first round of the tournaments for the girls on Monday, February the 15th. And there's 7 weeks for the guys, because the first round of the tournament's scheduled to start on the week of February the 22nd. 3 games a week over 6 weeks, you're looking at 18 games. Dana, that's, back when we were kids, 18 was pretty much a basketball season.
Well, and again, Ron, that's just me, trying to figure out the math here. I'm not saying that's going to be done. I think, some of your programs are going to, again, for the Trumbull County schools, I think it's a wait and see. I mean, obviously athletic directors want to fill the schedule, but you got to see how your team plays. I mean, I think the number one priority for all ADs is to get in the league games, and then anything after that would be a bonus. So I think that's the goal. As a matter of fact, I know that's the goal of the athletic directors, is to schedule the league games, and then if you can sneak in a game here or there, that's what they're going to do.
One of the other things that I think is an option, and I just don't know if the ADs from this side of the border are going to want to do this, but Pennsylvania is now just starting to get their winter sports underway. Governor Wolf shut everything down until after the first of the year. Well, they're now ready to, if they've practiced, and I know Greenville has for a fact, there are going to be some teams that are going to want to play some games. Is there a possibility of some of these Trumbull County schools reaching out to some of the schools in Mercer County or in Lawrence County and say, hey, you guys are in the same boat as we are. Let's try to help each other out here?
Well, I think it goes back to the league schedule, Ron. I think most athletic directors on both sides of the border need to get in their league games first and then go from that. I mean, I think all options are available, but I think athletic directors are saying, okay, and I've got tons of schedules with updated schedules, and all they consist of is league games. So, for instance, let's say you have Team X playing Team Y, and Team Y comes down with COVID. Well, then Team X would probably say, okay, let's try to find a game, and let's go, in Ohio on this side of the border and over there. But I think league games, and I think over there they're district games in Pennsylvania. I think everything is on the table. I'm just not sure there's enough time to get all that stuff done if you're going to concentrate on league games.
Well, and certainly I look at the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference, the gray tier, where there's 8 teams in the league. The only 2 that are outside of Trumbull County is Crestview and Camel. So the other 6 teams based out of Trumbull County, you can schedule your league games. That's 14 games, and then see if you can get 3 or 4 non-conference games. But if you're in 8-team leagues, 14 games, assuming you can get all of those in, that's fantastic. Northeast 8. Same thing. I mean, if you can get the 14 league games in, that would be the number one priority.
No question. And again, I think, Ron, it comes down to, look, if we're not a very good team, we're going to get our league games in and kind of just call it a season. And again, I think coaches are going to say, what's best for the students. And I think that's what needs to take place here. If you're going to play 12 games, then just play 12. If you're going to play 10, 10, 15, 15, everyone gets in the tournament. So I don't think this is a major issue at all.
Dana Ball is joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Dana, how surprised were you that the Youngstown State men weren't able to beat Green Bay in the second game of their back-to-back games against the Phoenix?
Well, Ron, it's so hard because, these teams are, you're playing twice, in 2 days. You're playing, you're playing twice in, every other, you're playing weekends and stuff, and I think the disruption, look, it's no excuse. YSU got beat. On paper, YSU was the better team, and they got beat on Saturday, or Sunday, or whatever day it was. This is a case where I think YSU, when it comes down to, when they need that shot, Quisenberry's still limping around a little bit. Look, if Darius Quisenberry is hurting you more than helping you on the floor, then and I'm not saying that's the case, but if a guy's not 100%, he's one of your key players, then obviously he's not 100%. Is he hurting you more on the floor than helping you? I can't decide that. You got to make shots. And YSU's just falling into what they've fallen in over the years. When they need that key shot, when they need that big shot, they don't get it. Playing back-to-back, that's not an excuse. I mean, Green Bay had to play back-to-back. I think the team that wins kind of has the advantage, and I think YSU didn't take, care of that advantage on Saturday. But, look, Ron, it is what it is, and the Penguins are going to play Carlo tonight in a non-conference game to try to, get more reps in, whatever you want to call it. So, am I surprised? No. I just think it's in a basketball season, in any season, you're going to have ups and downs, but it just seems like YSU has more downs than ups.
YSU women finally got to play some basketball. Unfortunately for them, they go up against one of the better teams in the conference, but still, I thought the YSU women looked pretty solid for the first game and a half, and then the second and a half just really got away from them. And Wright State jumped them and wound up winning the game. But by and large, I think that the Penguins, both teams are going to be okay. But for the women, they just need to play more games. That's all.
Well, and again, it's that rotation. Does Coach Barnes have his rotation set? After 2 games, probably not. It's a whole, for some of these freshmen, it's a whole different game. The speed of the game is so much quicker, and the talent is so much better. Look, a lot of these high school players come into college saying, okay, you know what? I was the star of my team. I did everything for my team. And now when you're relegated to a role player, that's tough to handle sometimes. But they'll get better as time goes on.
I don't think there's any two ways about that. 21 Sports Director Dana Ballas joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What is the latest that you've heard from the YSU football program? I mean, a little reminder for everyone, YSU football is going to be starting next month.
Ron, I believe they're going to start practicing on Monday. That would be, I think, 7 weeks from the opener, 6.5 weeks from the opener. So they'll start practicing Monday. And just treat this like I guess August, late July, and start practicing and get ready for that February 21st opener.
Yeah, the Penguins will be playing just the Missouri Valley Football Conference schedule. And my understanding, there is an FCS playoff, correct, sir?
There will be an FCS playoff. They will have 16 teams, so they'll have, I think it's 10 or 11 conference champions, and then 5 at-large teams, and they'll play 4 weeks. And quite honestly, Ron, this is the way it should be anyway, in my opinion. With 24 teams, I think it's really watered down. I think, 16 teams, and to be quite honest, the at-large teams back in the day, you had to, you can almost lose 3 or 4 games, sometimes 5 games and get in. And that's, in my opinion, you lose 5 games, that's half your season. I mean, is that good enough for a playoffs? No. I think it should stay at 16. I really, really do.
Dana Ballas joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Well, I mean, when you look at the FBS, just 4 teams, and I mean, let's be honest, not all of the Power 5 conferences get into the postseason. This year, 2 teams from the ACC, 1 team from the SEC, 1 team from the Big Ten. Alabama plays Ohio State national championship game. I made the point, Dana, it's going to come a part in time where the mid-majors are just simply going to say, look, we don't have any interest in trying to match up against the Power 5 conference teams because, frankly, the committee's never going to allow us to crash that party. So we're going to just abstain from that and maybe join in with the FCS, have those 2 combine, and put together a 16-team playoff and let the Power 5 conferences do their own 4-team playoff.
Well, I think the way that's corrected, Ron, is you just expand the playoffs. And, if you expand the playoffs to 8 teams, your Cincinnati's, your Texas Tech, they're in. They're undefeated. They're in the playoffs. And, look, I don't think it's a gripe. I think teams have a gripe because, look, they're undefeated, and that sort of thing. And again, can Cincinnati compete with Alabama? I mean, on paper, no, but you don't play the game on paper. But I think if you expand the playoffs to 8 teams or expand it to 6 and have the first 2 with a bye or something like that, I think that argument then kind of goes down the drain. I think, it's just a respect factor, if you expand it to 8, okay, now you have 8 teams in Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Florida wouldn't have a gripe, especially the teams that are undefeated. Coastal Carolina, now can they compete? No, but again, I just think if you open that door a little bit and throw them a bone, then I think everything's fine, and I think that's the way they'll go. I think you're going to expand it to 8. Then you get 4 more teams in. 1 plays 8, 2, 7, whatever, and and you go from there. And I think that's the way to do it, because I just think that way works. And again, Cincinnati wouldn't have a gripe because they would have been in this year. And you go from there. And again, I think if you open the door, then it also opens up some scheduling possibilities where if you're a Cincinnati, say, okay, you know what, we're gonna tighten up our non-league schedule. We're gonna try to play Ohio State. We're gonna try to play a Big Ten team and go from there. And again, Ron, that's kind of like the YSU thing. If you're a committee, you're going to look to see who they play. I don't care if it's the FCS committee or the college football playoff committee. You look at the schedule they play and who they play. Well, if you're going to continue to play like YSU is going to continue to play the Duquesnes and the Robert Morrises, well, you know what? Now you're forcing yourself to win the conference to get in because your strength of schedule just doesn't help you.
Brian Driscoll came up with something very interesting to keep the tradition of the bowls. You expand the season by 1 week, but you don't have the final 4 teams announced until they have played their bowl games. So you put your teams into the respective bowls. So Ohio State would have played Oregon in the Rose Bowl. And the Orange Bowl, it has whatever affiliations. And you have all of the teams playing in bowl games. And then after the bowl games are done, the 4 best teams go to a semifinal and national championship game. And essentially what you're doing is just extending the season by 1 week, but you're incorporating the tradition of the bowl games, and you're actually allowing the bowl games to make the final case as to who the final 4 teams are.
That's a valid point. I mean, that sounds like a very good idea, but there's something in the ointment that the NCAA will say, well, that doesn't stick, whether it's travel, whether it's this, whether it's that. And again, I think that's a great idea. I'm not a big fan of announcing these teams or whatever. Look, it is what it is. You play who you play. And you go from there. I mean, I think the big problem this year, Ron, is just everybody wasn't on equal par. And again, I think, and people could say what they want about Dabo Swinney saying what he said, but I think there's some validity to that, just because, you have one team, you have one team playing 6 games, and what if that, what if one team was that played 11 was 9-2? I mean, I just think there's too many arguments, and that's a great idea. I just think, hey, play your bowl games and go from there. Absolutely.
All right, Browns and Steelers will be playing for the 3rd time in the postseason. The last time the Browns were in the playoffs, they played the Steelers and lost to Pittsburgh 36-33. 1994, they played a divisional playoff game at the old Three Rivers Stadium. The Steelers were victorious in that game, 29-9. It's been a while for the Browns to be in the postseason. A tremendous year for the Browns, and it's going to be a different game in that, now you have Roethlisberger playing. A few people are going to be coming back and playing for the Steelers. Browns should be getting healthy. This is going to be an entertaining game on Sunday night.
Well, Olivier Vernon is out for the year, Ron. He ruptured his Achilles.
Yes.
Look, in 2002, the Browns had a 15-point lead with 3 minutes to play. And 3 minutes and 11 seconds to play, actually. 33-20, a 12-point lead, 33-21 with 3 minutes and 11 seconds to go. They were up 24-7 at one point. Pittsburgh scored 22 points in the 4th quarter. The Browns have to have their foot to the pedal. And again, that's 17 years ago. People say, it was the 2003. Well, it wasn't 2003, but it was the 2002 season. Look, I think all the pressure's on the Steelers. They're playing at home. No one's probably given the Browns much of a chance, and that's okay. I think Case Keenum will be the key to this game.
Interesting. Now, why do you say Case Keenum?
For some unknown reason, Ron, if the Browns are struggling, I think Stefanski will pull the plug and put Keenum in there and see what happens. It just entered my mind yesterday. but for some unknown reason, I think Case Keenum will be the key to this game.
Okay.
Whether he's you know what? It's off the wall, but that's. I mean, I just, you never know. You never know.
Okay, you got to help me out on this one because I think I was in Jackson, Tennessee. I just moved to Jackson when the Browns and the Steelers played each other, and I, for the life of me, can't remember this. Was that game in Cleveland or was it in Pittsburgh?
They were both in Pittsburgh. It was at Heinz Field. You had names on the Browns of Kelly Holcomb and Dennis Northcutt. For the Steelers, Tommy Maddox was the quarterback. Chris Fa'alala scored the game-winning touchdown. Like I said, the Browns were up 33-21 with 3 minutes and 11 seconds to play, and Pittsburgh scored. Maddox hit Tooman, I think, for one of the scores, and then Ma'afala scored with 51 seconds. The Browns, Holcomb threw a pass to Northcutt down to the 35-yard line. He just couldn't get out of bounds on the final play, and that's the way it ended. Butch Davis led the Browns, so Bill Cowher was the coach of the Steelers.
A nice walk down memory lane there, and hopefully for the Browns, the third time is the charm. They'll play the Steelers for the third time in postseason, and 0-2 against the Steelers. And for the third time, they'll play this game in Pittsburgh. And again, without Olivier Vernon, it was announced earlier today. Olivier Vernon ruptured his Achilles in yesterday's win against the Steelers. So no Vernon. That's a lot of pressure now on Myles Garrett.
Well, yeah, excuse me, and I think, at this point, Ron, it's just going to be a case of, who's available, who's not available. I mean, people talk that the Steelers didn't have, Roethlisberger and Hayward yesterday. Well, the Browns were without some guys, too, and you don't know if Denzel Ward's going to get back. I mean, the backups for Vernon, I think, are Claiborne and Porter Gustin, so, they're going to have to play pretty well. The last time I think the Browns and Steelers played on Sunday Night Football in Pittsburgh, the Browns beat them by double digits in a regular season game. And if you look at it, Ron, I think the Browns have actually been a better team on the road this year. I think they've played, pretty well on the road. The Tennessee game stands out. Obviously they laid an egg in New York against the Jets. Out of their 4 losses, 2 were on the road to Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and 2 at home. 3 on the road, so they were 5-3 on the road, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and the Jets. I don't mind them going on the road. I think they play pretty well on the road, and again, not because there will be no fans there. I think, there's talk the Steelers could have 6,000 fans there, but I think the Browns are kind of maybe a better road team. Look, you're going to have to go on the road eventually to win a game or win games. And, the Browns, the only way the Browns would get a home game is what?
If Indianapolis were to run the table and the Browns played them in the AFC title game.
Exactly. So, I think it's a game where, I was hoping yesterday the Browns would dominate, win by double digits. They did not. It was disappointing in some factions for me the way they played, but they didn't play very good, and they still won against and again the Steelers. They may have had 5 or 6 guys out, but some of their guys were in there. And again, I think Mike Tomlin actually, Mike Tomlin knew in the back of his mind they were going to play again, and that's why he didn't play Roethlisberger. That's why he didn't play Hayward. I mean, Mike Tomlin is a great mind game person, likes to play those types of games. So he knew that. I mean, it was a must-win for the Browns, so the Browns really couldn't rest anybody. But we'll see what happens. It's the last game on 2 triple-header days.
Yeah, it should be entertaining, and obviously the Suits wanted this game to be on a Sunday night because they know an old-fashioned rivalry, and Baker, say what you will, Baker equals ratings because Lord knows he has plenty of commercials that are played during the course of NFL games. So it makes sense for this game to be the Sunday night game.
Well, you know what? I was a little surprised it was named the Sunday game, Ron, to be quite honest with you. I thought, I knew Brady and would be in prime time with the Buccaneers, but you look at some of these matchups. New Orleans is what, a Saturday game?
Yeah, that's the middle Sunday game.
And that's where? That's in New Orleans.
That's
right?
in New Orleans against Chicago.
Okay, so that's a quick turnaround. Well, no, not necessarily because they got a Sunday game. But again, the thing now is, okay, are the Browns players going to be ready for Sunday because they get that extra day? You know what? That's all stuff that play the game on. I think the Browns would say you won't play the game on Wednesday afternoon at 4:00 if it means we're in the playoffs.
Exactly. I mean, they've waited 18 years for the postseason. They'd play in a parking lot at 4:00 in the morning if need be. Hey, Dana, always a pleasure, sir.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it. Dana Balish, TV 21 sports director, and his appearance, as always, on the MP Vivo heating and air conditioning hotline. I thought it was pretty interesting that he made mention the backup quarterback for the Browns could be a difference maker. That's off the wall. That is definitely off the wall. But, again, it's this, strange things happen. Just very strange things have happened. By the way, speaking of strange things happening, a guy that does a national show that has not been too kind to the Browns, I'm sure everyone knows who Colin Cowherd is. Recently, he said that Baker Mayfield was a Mazda, not a Maserati. And file this into people hear what critics have to say. The Browns play call, the last play that clinched the postseason spot, where Mayfield did the quarterback keeper, that play call was called the Maserati. Yeah, a little lesson here. The athletes that sit back and go, we don't listen to the noise around us. Bull crap. You guys listen to the noise. Stop that already. Of course you listen to the noise. You listen to the critics. Absolutely they do. There's no two ways about that. Now, this should be a fun game. Browns and Steelers, this should be a fun game. And again, the Steelers and Browns have played each other 2 times in the postseason. In 1994, at the old Three Rivers Stadium, Pittsburgh was able to knock off Cleveland 29-9. And the last time the Browns played in the postseason, they played in 2002. Well, actually, January 2003, but it was the 2002 season. The Browns were beaten 36-33 by the Steelers. So this will be the third meeting between the two teams, third meeting in Pittsburgh. The Browns get that opportunity after their 24-22 victory yesterday against the Steelers, and who knows? Who knows what happens? This will be interesting to say the least. Do the Browns have a chance on Sunday night? Absolutely they do. Now, the huge hit that the Browns have taken is the loss of Olivier Vernon, who is out for the playoffs. Again, Vernon left the field putting no weight on his leg yesterday, and it was announced this morning that Olivier Vernon ruptured his Achilles. So Vernon is obviously out for the playoffs. That is it's a bad injury. That's one of those injuries that takes about 9 to 12 months to heal. And the Achilles, for everyone not knowing, this is where I stayed awake in health class for that one particular day. The Achilles is right behind your leg, down where your foot connects with your leg, and that's that nice little bone, literally behind the foot. It attaches the heel to the leg. That's your Achilles, and that's the area that Olivier Vernon ruptured. And obviously, that's a bad injury for anybody, and especially for a guy who pushes off with his feet. That's just you rupture an Achilles, you're pretty much down for anywhere from 9 to 12 months. That's a tough injury. But Olivier Vernon obviously out for the postseason, and that's a tough blow for the Browns. We'll see what they do on Sunday night. That is going to be the final game of supersized wild card weekend, and again with the playoffs expanding, 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. Again, the Saturday lineup: the first game, Indianapolis at Buffalo; the middle game, the Rams are at Seattle; the nightcap, Tampa Bay at Washington. The Sunday matchups: the early game, Baltimore at Tennessee; the middle game, Chicago at New Orleans; and the last game on the docket on supersized wild card weekend, the Browns in Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. And then if you continue on to Monday night, the national championship game between Ohio State and Alabama. All right, we're going to take a timeout, open up the phone lines. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. We're back after this timeout. It's a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a new or slightly used automobile, you need to check out the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. Okay, a couple of things. And we made mention with this when we spoke with Dana Balish, and I know Anthony and I have talked a little bit about this as well. Here we are, calendar is flipped to 2021, and the race is on in terms of getting as many games in as humanly possible between now and the tournaments. And now I'm just going to strictly talk basketball because of the winter sports, the games that, or I should say the amount of games that need to be played in basketball you want to get, obviously, your league games. And when we were talking about the fact that Trumbull County schools had not played any basketball for a time period in December, and I'm pretty sure it was the Trumbull County Health Board, late December, lifted their ban and opened the basketball season up for the boys and girls in all of the Trumbull County schools. And I'm sure there's a couple of schools that probably have 1 or 2 games in. Now, from what I understand, the girls' basketball tournament will start the week of February the 15th. And the boys' tournament will start 1 week later, the week of February the 22nd. That's from what I understand. So you basically have 6 weeks, the entire month of January, and today's the 4th. The last Friday in January, or the last Saturday, in January, is January the 30th. January 31st is a Sunday. Then we go into the month of February. And this year, only 28 days in February. So you have 6 weeks for the girls, 7 weeks for the guys. And I think Dana Balish is 100% right on something in that you must have your league games completed. That is, without question, that is the number one priority. So if you're in the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference gray tier or scarlet tier, you want to have your games, your league games. That's 14 games. You want to be able to get your 14 games in, whether it's boys or girls. The 14 games is very important. The Northeast 8, the same thing. And again, most of the schools in the Northeast 8 are in Trumbull County. So, with all due respect to, Poland Struthers and South Range, 4 teams are in Trumbull County. Girard, Lakeview, Niles. Who the hell's the other team? In that Hubbard. Little brain fart there. Sorry to the folks in Hubbard. And then Jefferson up in Ashtabula County. But you want to get those games in. So obviously, 14 league games if you're part of the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference, gray tier or scarlet tier, the Northeast 8, the EOAC, the Eastern Ohio Athletic Conference, that's Youngstown Christian, Columbiana, Latonia, Lisbon, Palestine. 14 league games. You want to get those games in. The schools that don't have those 8 teams, you have Howland, Harding, Canfield, Boardman, and Fitch. So you got 5 teams, so you're looking at 8 league games there. And then you have in the City Series, Steel Valley, whatever they're calling it, Cheney, East, Mooney, Ursuline. So 3 games, 3 times 2, 6 games. So you get 6 games there. So the schools not in the 8-team leagues, and we're talking about Cheney, East, Ursuline, Mooney, Howland, Canfield, Fitch, Boardman, and Harding. 9 teams are not going to have 14 league games. They're going to be busy, but they're not going to be playing 14 league games. So the problem is Boardman, Fitch, Harding, Canfield, and Howland, that's a 5-team league. You're only going to be playing 8 league games. So those schools are going to need to go outside of the area in order to get a season. And how many games you throw in. Now, to Boardman's credit, to Fitch's credit, to Canfield's credit, they've played a number of games. Now, you get your league games in, you might be able to get a 15, 18 game season. Ideally, you want to get at least 18 games in. Now, at the risk of me sounding really old, which I kind of sort of am, not really old, but old, if I do one of these numbers, back in my day, we played 18 regular season games. Well, we did. Up until my junior year, which was, 1980, 1981, all the way through the 79-80 season, we played 18 games. It was an 18-game regular season. You played you had 8 teams in your league, so you had 4 non-conference games, 14 conference games, and you called it a year. Then you play your tournaments and go from there. 18 games is not out of the realm of possibility. It isn't out of the realm of possibility. I mean, look, the girls have 6 weeks. If you're a Trumbull County school and you're playing your league games, right, so for everyone not named Harding and Howland, you're going to be playing 14 games. If you're in Trumbull County, you're going to be playing 14 games. Unless you're Harding or Howland, then you're only going to be playing 8 league games. And then you're going to have to find 10 non-conference games to get an 18-game season. If you haven't played any games right now, it's simple. 3 games a week the next 6 weeks because you have 6 weeks left. Tournaments start, I'm almost positive when I say this, tournaments start February 15th, the week of Monday, February the 15th. That's when the tournament starts. So you essentially have 6 weeks to get your 18-game season in if you want to play 18 games. Some teams may only want to play 15 games. I don't know. Personally, I think 18 is a seriously right number. Now, other teams in Mahoning and Columbiana counties that, knock on wood, haven't been affected by COVID, they'll get their 22 games in. They'll get 22 games in. But for the teams that right now don't have anywhere close to 5, 6, 7, 8 games, and if you're Cheney and East, you haven't played any games yet. For the guys, you get 7 weeks. All right, play 3 games a week. That's 21 games. Now, do you want to burn yourself out playing 3 games a week over a 7-week stretch? Probably not. You want to play 3 games a week for, 4 weeks? That's 12 games. The other 3 games, you're playing 2 games a week. That's 6 games. There's your 18 games. 18 games should get you tournament ready. You want to go that direction? All right, that's fine. Other teams are going to be playing 22 games. The wild card in all of this is, and I hope ADs understand this, especially the ADs in Trumbull County, you're not the only ones that are looking for games. Think outside the box for a second. You can go across the state line and go into Mercer County, Lawrence County. And some of you schools in Mahoning County, I'm talking to you, Cheney and East, because you haven't played any games yet. You guys want to schedule some teams in the state of Ohio. Okay, that's great, but I'm going to tell you right now, you take a venture into the other side of State Route 14 into Pennsylvania, there's a school by the name of Blackhawk, and I am here to tell you, you play Blackhawk, you're going to have yourself a hell of a game because Blackhawk is a hell of a basketball program, and it can help you out. It's not necessarily a bad thing if some of our schools go across the border and help their brethren out in the Keystone State because they haven't played any basketball. And there's some pretty good basketball. Let's not kid ourselves here. There's some pretty good basketball in the Keystone State. Grove City, year in, year out, pretty good basketball team. Kennedy Catholic, pretty good basketball team. Newcastle, Blackhawk, Sharon, Farrell, Greenville. We're talking some pretty good basketball programs here. And they haven't played any basketball. I think it would be a fantastic to, again, we're not pigeonholed here. And we're so close to the border. You can go across the border and play some games. Hey, I got no problems with that. You want to get some games outside of your league, and some of the teams may not want to play because they've already got their schedule built in, and that's fine. There's a whole bunch of other teams on the other side of this border that are going to need to play their district games, but they're going to be wide open to play non-conference basketball. I think it would be great. I think that this, if there is something positive to come out of this god-awful virus, maybe, just maybe, it's the possibility of seeing more games between the teams in northeastern Ohio against some really talented teams over in western PA. I think it would be fun. And again, if you're really behind the eight ball in terms of trying to get as many games as possible, obviously, league games are the most important thing. And again, if you're in the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference gray tier, scarlet tier, in the EOAC, in the Northeast 8, okay, all of those conferences have 8 teams. You're going to get 14 league games. And essentially, 18 minimum. Okay, now you're looking at 4 non-conference games. You want to venture out and try to get 22 games? Okay. I'm just saying, there's not only do you have teams from Trumbull County that are going to be looking for games outside of their league, and not only are you going to have the 2 city schools in Youngstown, Cheney and East, looking for a lot of games outside of their very small league, because they're only playing 6 league games. You've got 4 teams in your league: Cheney, Ursuline, East, and Mooney. That's it. So you're only getting 6 league games. You're probably going to need at least a dozen non-conference games to have an 18-game schedule. I'm just saying, there are teams over in western Pennsylvania that are in the same boat because of what Governor Wolf did over there. There's a lot of teams over in western PA that, like here, need to play their league games, but they're going to be wanting to schedule some non-league action. And I think it's a great opportunity to kind of accomplish 2 things at one time. Not to mention the fact that it would be pretty cool to see some interstate little rivalries going on. And it would be pretty interesting to see how good our basketball holds up against some of those brethren in Mercer and Lawrence and Beaver counties, the 3 counties that butt up against the Ohio border from Trumbull, Mahoning, and Columbiana County. You have Trumbull, Mercer separated by the line, Mahoning and Lawrence separated by the line, Columbiana and Beaver separated by the line. So there you go. As a matter of fact, here in East Palestine, literally, a mile? 1 mile down the road on 14, you go into Pennsylvania, and 14 turns into State Route 51. There you go. But you got 6 weeks left for the girls, 7 weeks left for the boys. And, if you smash in 3 games a week over a 6-week period, that's 18 games. Now, you don't necessarily have to, depending on how many games you have already in your season, you may not need to play 18 games over a 6-week period. I know some Trumbull County schools might have a game or 2 under their belt. For Cheney and East, they haven't played a game yet all year. So 6 games over the course, 3 games a week over the course of 6 weeks. Now you're looking at 18 games. And is it doable? Absolutely it is. Whether or not it happens remains to be seen. The guys have an extra week. So, you have an extra week to try to get the games, as many games as possible. But I would think 18 is a reasonably good number. And I think 18 would be a number that makes sense for those that have little to no games played in the 2020-2021 high school basketball season. I think 18 would make perfect sense. Well, we'll see what transpires. All right, speaking of, we made mention last week that come January the 4th, we'd be stepping on the gas. There'd be a whole bunch of stuff going on the network. And while true to form, we have a crazy amount of games that are going to be on the network. And we will get to those games after a break. 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business. 330-886-0813. If you want to talk a little bit about how many games you think a high school basketball team should play between now and the tournaments. Again, 6 weeks for the girls, 7 weeks for the boys. How many games do you think those girls and boys should be playing in that 6 and 7 week span? We could talk a little bit about that. If you're a Browns fan, if you're a Steelers fan, I know it's early. Listen, the game's Sunday night. We're going to save the best for last, apparently. The last of the supersized wild card weekend will be Browns-Steelers Sunday night in the Berg. And that should be a fun atmosphere, even if you're not going to have fans there. It's still going to be a fun atmosphere. Pittsburgh and Cleveland meeting for the third time in postseason. The Steelers have won the first 2 games, both games in Pittsburgh. Game number 3 between these two organizations in their postseason history. And like the first 2, the third game will be played in Pittsburgh. We'll see what happens Sunday nights. If you're a Browns fan, if you're a Steelers fan, I know it's early, but what are you feeling? You like your team's chances? Because I got to be honest with you, I'm reading the social media, and you know, I mean, you get a good chunk of talk from the fan bases, and the one thing that I have heard from both fan bases, it seems like they've agreed on this. Both fan bases think that this is the best matchup for them in round number 1. Browns fans are saying, "Oh, Steelers, man, this is a great matchup. This is by far and away the easiest matchup for us." And the Steelers are saying that the Steeler fans are saying the same thing about the Browns. Truth be told, it's a nice matchup. I don't think it's easy for either team. I think it's a nice matchup, and I think it will be a fun game to watch. One of those fan bases is going to be wrong, obviously. Which one? I don't know. I mean, this could be a fun game. I think it's going to be a close game. It has the makings of being a close game. Whether or not it is, I mean, a lot of things will to be determined. I mean, I could see the Browns beating the Steelers, and obviously I could see the Steelers beating the Browns. Playoffs, buckle your chin straps. This will be fun. But in no way, shape, or form is it easy. You know, I mean, I think it'll be a hard-fought game. I think it'll be a very close game. And you can make an argument for either team. I think under the circumstances, because it's in Pittsburgh, obviously the Steelers should be favored, and they are. Last I checked, it was a 4-point spread, from what I understand. It'll be a fun game, I know that. All right, 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit. Stick around.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before, but 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to the Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. NFL coaches changing, teams changing coaches. Chargers, Jets, and Jags have all fired their head football coaches. The Jets were the first in line. They did that on Sunday night, right after the Jets' loss to New England. And then this morning, the Jacksonville Jaguars getting rid of Doug Marrone and Coach Lynn over in Los Angeles with the Chargers. He was relieved of his duties a little before 12 noon. Reports surfacing that Urban Meyer has said that it will take $12 million a year for him to come out of retirement to be the head football coach at Jacksonville. For him to be the head football coach of the Jacksonville Jags, Urban Meyer is reportedly seeking $12 million a year for him to be the head football coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. By the way, the Texas job that became open over the weekend when Tom Herman was relieved of his duties, they approached Urban Meyer and reportedly, again, published reports saying that Urban Meyer was seeking $10 million a year to be the head football coach of the Texas Longhorns. Obviously, they didn't go in that direction. Alabama's offensive coordinator, Steve Carsegian. Dang it, I always get this guy's name mixed up. Carsegian, or Carsegian, I don't know. Whoever the offensive coordinator's name is in Alabama. Yeah, good times. He's the new head football coach at the University of Texas. So he'll leave Alabama after the national championship game 1 week from tonight. The Buckeyes taking on Alabama for the national championship. Sarkisian, there we go. Yeah, Sarkisian will go to Austin and be the new head football coach of the Texas Longhorns after their national championship game against the Ohio State Buckeyes. So there you go. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business. We got a ton of games for you. Let's see. Southern will be at Wellsville. Girls varsity basketball. Shady Side is at Steubenville. From what I understand, it's a varsity-only game beginning at 6 o'clock. Sebring at Mineral Ridge. Varsity game supposed to be starting somewhere in the neighborhood of 6:30. Stowe Monroe Falls coming to Canfield to take on Canfield. That game starting somewhere around 6:30. The Lowellville game is going to be canceled. And again, Lowellville girls basketball program in quarantine, according to 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. Jefferson is at Niles. Varsity game starting somewhere around 6:30. These games start at 7 o'clock or somewhere thereabouts. Leetonia traveling to United, hoping to get a little revenge on United, who beat Leetonia earlier in the year up in the Bears Den. Columbiana will travel to Lisbon. Boardman travels to Lake, up in Lake County, to take on the Blue Streaks. Struthers is at Lakeview. Liberty at Camel, and Hubbard will be at Girard. Those games start at 7 o'clock, which means the varsity game starts at 5:30. Indian Creek is at East Liverpool at Potter Fieldhouse. Varsity game is supposed to start at 7:30, meaning that the JV game gets underway at 6 o'clock. Austintown will travel to Louisville to take on the Leopards. The JV game starts at 6. The varsity game somewhere in the neighborhood of 7:30. So those are the games, girls basketball games tonight on the network. Should be fun. Should be a very, very entertaining contests and lots of league games. And good to see some of the Trumbull County schools getting back into the swing of things. And again, we're 6 weeks for the girls. We're 6 weeks away from the tournament. Tournament will start the week of February the 15th. So there's 6 weeks between now and the start of the tournaments on February the 15th. For the guys, there is 7 weeks between now and the start of the tournament. The guys, it's supposed to start February, the week of February the 22nd is when they are supposed to start the tournaments. So we'll see how this transpires. It should be entertaining, to say the least. Again, the tournaments 6 or 7 weeks away, depending on if you're the boys, you're about 7 weeks away. Girls, you are 6 weeks away, and again, plenty of time to not only get the league games in, but to get some non-league action as well. And we made mention the fact that there are some teams in Western Pennsylvania that are in the same boat as the 2 Youngstown City schools, Cheney and East, as well as the Trumbull County schools. You're basically in the same boat, looking to find some games, non-conference games. They want to venture over into the Keystone State to take on some of those teams out in Western Pennsylvania, whether it be in Mercer County, Lawrence, or Beaver counties. That's good competition, no doubt about that. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. We made mention the 7 teams that are in the postseason. The top seed through the 7 in the AFC. Chiefs are the top seed. Bills got the 2. The Steelers got the 3. Titans have the 4. The Ravens have the 5. Browns have the 6 seed. Colts have the 7 seed. This week, Buffalo is playing host to Indianapolis. The Steelers hosting the Browns, and the Titans hosting the Ravens. Over in the NFC, Green Bay is the 1, New Orleans are the 2, Seattle is the 3. Washington, despite a losing record, they get the 4 seed because they won one of the divisions. The 3 wild cards, Tampa Bay gets the 5, the Rams get the 6, and the Chicago Bears get the 7. The 7 seed in the NFC goes into the playoffs with an 8-8 record. Meanwhile, all 3 of your wild card teams in the AFC won 11 games this year. Baltimore, Cleveland, and Indianapolis all won 11 games this year. Poor Miami, 10-6, solid team. They aren't in the playoffs. If Miami were in the NFC, they would not only have, they'd not only be in the playoffs, there's a pretty good chance they'd be the 6th seed, depending on what their tiebreakers would be with the Los Angeles Rams. But Miami is not in the NFC. They're in the AFC, so Miami is out of the playoffs. 2 teams with non-winning records are in the playoffs this year. The 8-8 Chicago Bears are the 7 seed in the NFC playoffs. The Washington Redskins become the 5th team since the 4-division look became official. And I want to say that became official, I want to say 2002 was the first year that the National Football League had 4 divisions. And I want to make sure that I'm right with this. But they become the 5th team since the 4-division idea came to fruition. They become the 5th team. And the 4-team fruition did come into effect in 2002. And they are the 5th team since 2002 to have a non-winning record and home field advantage in the playoffs. Washington finished 7-9. They got their 7th victory of the season over the Philadelphia Eagles last night, 20-14, and New York Giants fans not too happy with how that game unfolded, being that Philadelphia benched their second-string quarterback, who became their starter when they benched Carson Wentz. Then they benched Jalen Hurts and brought in Sudfeld, and let's just say that he didn't do very well. And the Eagles wound up losing to the Redskins. And there I go again. The Washington football team, 20-14. So Washington, despite a 7-9 record, they win the NFC East. They become the 5th team since 2002 to win a division with a non-winning record. I believe 2 teams have finished. I gotta make sure I have this right. 2 or 3 teams finished with a 8-8 record, and I want to say 3 teams finished with an 8-8 record, and 2 teams now have finished with a losing record. Albeit, this is the 5th time that this has happened since 2002. Interestingly enough, in the previous 4 games, the team with the non-winning record is 4-0 in their first-round playoff games. In other words, the non-winning team gets home field advantage for the first round because of their 4 seed, and in all 4 of the previous games, the non-winning team has won outright 4 times, every single time. So what does this say for this weekend? Well, Washington's playing a pretty good Tampa team. I don't think that the pattern continues. Having said that, Washington, at least on the defensive front, they have the ingredients necessary to slow down Tom Brady, and that is a pass rush. Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, that's a pretty good defensive line that Washington has. If they're able to get any kind of pressure on Brady, this could be a fun game. The trend could continue if Washington is able to get a pass rush against the future Hall of Fame quarterback. So we'll see what happens. But it shows its ugly head for the 5th time since 2002. A non-winning team has jumped into the playoffs. Washington becoming the 5th team as they get into the playoffs with a 7-9 record, and their first-round opponent will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. By the way, Tampa Bay is currently an 8-point favorite against Washington, and I'll throw this statistic out again just because it has some merit. In the 4 previous times that a non-winning record or non-winning team has gone into the playoffs as the 4 seed, they've won all 4 of those games via home field advantage. So we'll see what happens. Browns and Steelers, that'll be the last game played. It'll be on Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels and the boys over at NBC will have that game. The Browns are a 4-point underdog in that game. The number's about right. Can the Browns beat the Steelers? Absolutely they can. Will they? That's the million-dollar question. That's the million-dollar question. I mean, this is going to be a fun game. I mean, I'll tell you this. You're going to have T.J. Watt back in the lineup. You're going to have Roethlisberger back in the lineup. You're going to have about 4 or 5 other guys in the lineup. Now, for the Browns, hopefully, knock on wood, they don't have the disaster that they had in the secondary yesterday, which one of the reasons why Mason Rudolph was able to have a game north of 300 yards. I mean, the secondary was pretty much out of commission. One player that the Browns will not have, unfortunately for them, is Olivier Vernon. He blew out his Achilles yesterday in the loss to the Steelers. He'll have surgery on that. That's a 9 to 12 month process. So Olivier Vernon obviously out for the rest of the year, and he may very well miss some time in the 2021 regular season. It just depends on how fast he heals from this injury. But yeah, Olivier Vernon tore his Achilles tendon. That's the area directly behind your foot. It attaches the heel of your foot to the lower part of the leg. And you cut that muscle out, and boof, that's especially tough for an offensive or a defensive lineman where you're pushing off. You obviously can't push off if you've got a torn Achilles tendon. That's a tough injury. And again, it's a very lengthy injury to come back from. And for Olivier Vernon, this is his contract year. So I don't know if this is going to affect how much he's going to get paid. But the fact that he's going to be facing some major, major surgery, even though he had a really good second half of the year, he may not get the contract that he's envisioning based on this horrible injury. And again, it happened yesterday. It was announced this morning, Olivier Vernon gone for the year with a torn Achilles. So he will definitely be out. Whether or not that is the difference in the game remains to be seen. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I think it'll be a very, very entertaining game. As a matter of fact, all 6 of these games, I mean, if there's a blowout on paper, it's going to be the Bears and New Orleans. I think that if there is a blowout, that's at the top of my list. The Bears and the Saints. I don't think Chicago is going to fare very well against New Orleans. And the fact they're a 9.5-point underdog is probably a foreshadow of things to come. If I were to, and I would never, make a official pick right now because a lot of things can happen. And oh, by the way, there's a thing called COVID, and you can bet your bottom dollar 14 teams that are left in the National Football League. I think everybody is now going to be really watching themselves because, let's be honest. God bless the NFL for being able to complete all of their games. And I know we had some craziness with the Tennessee Titans and they drew a couple of games out, and it affected the Steelers, it affected the Bills, it affected in some way, shape, or form, it affected a couple of other teams. But worst case scenario, someone comes down with COVID, and you have a COVID outbreak, like with what the Browns had, the entire receiving corps gone. It's not like they're going to say, oh, hey, let's schedule this playoff game to be played on Tuesday. No, that's not going to happen. And this is, Anthony and I had made mention in the previous year, and I don't even want to acknowledge 2020, but in the previous year, we made mention, look, COVID, like it or not, this is going to be it sucks, but this is, fair is out the window type of season. You don't have fair when it comes to COVID. So knock on wood, you better, if you're a Browns fan, if you're a Steelers fan, if you're a fan of any of these 14 teams, you better knock on wood and hope and pray that none of the players get this or that your team doesn't have a COVID outbreak. Because like it or not, games are going to be played. And If you don't have a healthy receiving core or a healthy lineman or whatever, well, oh well. You're still playing. Whether it's the Bills and Colts at Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, the Rams and the Seahawks at 4:40, the Tampa Bay Washington game Saturday night at 8:15. It sucks to be you. If you're not healthy, oh well, you got to play. We're not changing this game. You're scheduled for this time. That's when you're going to play. And if you don't have healthy bodies, I guess you're going to get your ass kicked. Not fair, but COVID's not fair, period. And I think that might be one of the reasons why Buffalo went after Kenny Stills today. Signed him to a contract and put him on the practice roster. And maybe this is insurance just in case John Brown or somebody else from the Bills, maybe Beasley, isn't able to play. Okay, well, we just signed Kenny Stills. He's the next man up. We'll get him ingrained into this system, and he'll be ready to play come Saturday when we have to play the Colts. Okay. Or, horrible scenario as it is, let's take a page from the Browns playbook. Oh, hey, somebody from the receiving corps just had COVID. Well, all of you guys are out because, it's contact tracing. And again, like I said, this COVID it screams unfair, but here's the reality. Fair went out the window with this. So the best team, you may not get into the Super Bowl because of COVID. And the worst team, you might actually make a deep run into the postseason because of COVID. So if you're a fan of any of these 14 teams, you probably should be knocking on wood, hoping and praying to God that your team stays healthy and COVID-free because the NFL's not going to be moving games around. That's just simply not going to happen. They're not going to be canceling games based on who has COVID or what player or what superstar player has COVID. I mean, listen, God forbid, and I hope and pray that it doesn't happen to anybody, especially my team. I'll throw a name out there, and I surely don't want Chiefs fans, destroying me here, but God forbid something happens to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC divisional playoff game. NFL's not going to be changing the game. If they're set for Saturday night or Sunday night or Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, guess what? You're going to be playing on one of those games, and that's it. You're not getting moved. The NFL's not planning on moving anything for anybody, and it doesn't matter whether your team has COVID or not. They're just not going to move it. So hopefully, knock on wood, everybody is healthy, and we get an NFL playoff that's COVID-free, and we don't have anybody missing time because of COVID. And unfortunately, it just is what it is. And we had heard earlier in the year, maybe, just maybe, there was going to be an opportunity for teams to go into a bubble. That's not going to happen. From what I understand, that's not going to happen. You're going to play your games the way a normal playoff series would go. So the top seed, they're getting home field advantage in the divisional playoffs. If the 2 gets upset by the 7 seed would play the 1 in one of the divisional playoff games. And then the winner of 3 versus 6 would play the winner of 4 versus 5. The top seed always gets the lowest remaining seed. So I'll use the NFC for an example because I don't want to put any bad juju on anybody in the AFC, especially my team. Let's say that the shock of all shocks, Chicago upsets New Orleans. Spoiler alert, unless COVID outbreaks New Orleans in a horrible way, Chicago's not beating New Orleans. But let's play Fantasy Island for a second. If the Bears were to upset New Orleans, Green Bay would play Chicago in the divisional playoffs at Lambeau. Let's say the Rams upset the Seahawks, but the Saints, they beat Chicago. Well, the Rams are the 6th seed. The Packers would get the Rams in the divisional playoffs. And that would mean that the Saints would play the winner of Washington and Tampa in New Orleans. If it's chalk, if the AFC and NFC are all chalk, in other words, the top 4 seeds all win, the divisional playoffs would be Kansas City hosting the Tennessee Titans and the Bills hosting the Steelers in the divisional playoffs, if it's chalk. If it's chalk, where the top 4 seeds win in the NFC, Washington would travel to Green Bay and Seattle would travel to New Orleans. If it's chalk, by the way, if it's chalk, Washington would be, even though they're the 4 seed, it would be an upset, being that the Washington football team is a considerable underdog against Tampa Bay. I'm not even going to think about picking anything until later in the week. And don't expect me to go any further than the first round as a Bills fan, because I am not looking at any second round, third round, any matchup except for one team, and that would be the Indianapolis Colts. And I think the Bills are going to have their hands full with Indianapolis. I think that the Colts are going to bring it. They got an unbelievable offensive line. Their defense is legit, and they got a kid that's emerged as a starting running back. Jonathan Taylor, he's solid. And I think that the Colts will give the Bills all they can ask for. That'll be fun. If the Bills can win, great. But I am not looking forward to anything except for one team, and that would be the Indianapolis Colts. And if you're a Steeler fan, your mind is on the Browns. If you're a Browns fan, your mind is on the Steelers. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you can wait until Sunday night to figure out who you're playing. If you're a Packers fan, same thing. Man, this postseason is going to be fun. Hopefully, no COVID. Hopefully, we get a legitimate, COVID-free, no excuse in terms of COVID, no excuses type of postseason. Should be a lot of fun. I got to be honest, this football season, is it just me, or was this one of the best NFL seasons in recent memory? And I don't say this because my team finished 13-3. I mean, a pretty damn good year. Take my team out of the equation. I thought this was a really fun year. I think it was a really good year. A lot of competition. I just think this was a fun year for the National Football League. And hopefully we're going to get some solid playoff games. By the way, speaking of the playoffs, I'm always when the calendar turns to January, I'm all about the defense. I'm all about knowing that there's an adage in all of sports. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships. I get some interesting numbers since 2000, and that's essentially when football started tilting the pendulum to favor the offense. Way back in the day, the pendulum was way on the other side, where defense was the forefront. And you did not have a lot of rules that were offensive-oriented. Now the pendulum has swung completely the opposite, where there's not a whole lot of rules that favor the defense, and the offenses have been playing just incredible high-scoring affairs. But since 2000, when this essentially began, come playoff time, there's some interesting numbers. We'll get to these numbers in a bit. It's a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. We're back in a bit.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts. Boy is recovering from a broken.
Around our valley.
Community in Niles. We are here in Youngstown. Right up.
Because you expect.
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our Valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
To Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet
because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a new or slightly used automobile, what you need to do is head over to Austintown. And on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown, you will find the place to go, and that would be Greenwood Chevrolet. They have a great sales department, a wonderful service department, and a finance department that's going to put you in a car without you paying out the wazoo in interest rates, Nobody wants high interest rates when they're taking out a loan to buy a car. Hell no. You want as low an interest rate as possible, and that's why you have to have a car dealership that has an amazing finance department. And the folks at Greenwood Chevrolet, they have one of those. They got a great finance department. They got a great sales department. And just in case your car needs serviced or maybe you dinged it up, the service department, top-notch as well. It's all happening at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Okay, I made mention. NFL playoffs. This is where you separate the men from the boys. The chaff from the wheat, if you will. A little biblical humor there. Well, not humor, but biblical statement. Let's use the old adage that I've used for years. Offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. Since 2000, and this is when the advent of high-powered offenses came into being, there have been 200 postseason games, not including the Super Bowl. 200 postseason games. Wild card weekend, the divisional playoffs, and the conference championships. Since the 2000 season, which would be 2000, 2001, because let's be honest, the playoffs are always in January of 2000, the next year. Like the 2020 season, playoffs are going to start January 2021, but it's the 2020 season. All right. That being said, there have been 21 years worth of postseasons. You got to include the year 2000. So including the year 2000, there have been 21 postseasons. There have been 200 games played in the postseason since the 2000 season. Now, we're not including the Super Bowl in this. Conference wildcard weekend, conference divisional playoffs, conference championship games. In the 200 games, the losing team has scored 20 points or less in 141 of those 200 games. So 70.5% of the time since 2000, not including the Super Bowls, but since 2000 in the conference playoffs, since 2000, 70.5% of the time, the losing team scores 20 points or less. Now, the mark of a good defense historically has been, through the years, limit a team to 20 points or less. If you can limit a team to 20 points or less, you should be able to win that game. Now, of course, that assumes that you have to score over 20 points in order to win the game. I mean, 21 points, by and large, if you can score 21 points in a playoff game, you should be able to win that playoff game. And again, in conference playoffs, AFC and NFC combined, we're not including the Super Bowl, although we'll get the Super Bowl in there sooner or later. 200 games have been played since the 2000 season. In all but 59 of those games, the losing team has scored 20 points or less. So if you're one of these 14 teams still alive, theoretically, score 21 points, and you have a really good chance at going into the next round of the playoffs. All right, let's get to the phone lines real quick. Tony, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on?
Hi, Ron. How'd you enjoy your game yesterday?
I had a wonderful time. I mean, it was nice to see the Bills scary good, and it was really nice to see them scary good against Miami. And everyone
remember that's the top scoring defense, right?
Yeah, and everyone seemed to come out of that game healthy. And then I really got a jolt of great news when the Bills signed Kenny Stills this morning and put him on the practice squad just in case something happens. So the Bills have an all-pro receiver waiting in the wings just in case something were to happen to Beasley or Brown or, God forbid, the GOAT this year.
Now Stills doesn't have an attitude, does he?
No.
Okay, I've read that he was a pretty good team player, and you don't want to mess with team chemistry right now, especially with John Brown. Boy, he looked good.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, I mean, John Brown, 4 catches, 72 yards, caught a pass on a fly pattern, got right behind the defender. And again, I mean, when John Brown is in the lineup, Smoke is the guy that takes the top off of this offense. And, you know, you got to account for him. Otherwise, he's going to be burning everybody in the secondary. So not only do you have to pay attention to the best receiver in football this year, Stephon Diggs, and not only do you have to pay attention to a pretty good possession receiver in Mr. Beasley, now you got to pay attention to a guy that tears the top off of the offense in John Brown.
Well, Gabriel Davis doesn't have the speed to go over the top, and I think those were both for surprise throws. And it give whoever they play going forward has to account for him, you know, turning up and going. So I think those were for effect. Like the first play of the game when, you know, these are just things when Allen went out and stood at, you know, split that's just stuff you have to make these guys account for going forward.
Oh, of course. I mean, look. I mean, McDermott and Dable and everyone in the organization, they weren't showing their cards. I mean, they were basically having fun, taking care of Miami, making sure that the Dolphins didn't get into the playoffs, and now it's time to open up the postseason. And look, I mean, this Bills team, they still have a goose egg in their head, and that is they haven't won a playoff game in quite a while.
Well, there's only one playoff. They don't care about the long history. They care about one thing: humiliation. They came home from last year after blowing a 16-point lead.
Yeah, and
they were humiliated.
Listen, in recent memory, the Bills are 0-2 in the postseason. They lost to the Jags in Jacksonville in Ty Taylor's last game as a Bill. And they lost last year to the Houston Texans in a game that, frankly, they deserved to lose because they looked like hell in the second half.
Yeah, it was a little big for Josh last year, and he's matured so much. And that's the great thing about them sticking with this guy and not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Is they allowed him to mature.
No, I agreed. And boy, what a step he took this year. He's definitely in the MVP conversation along with Favre and Patrick Mahomes. There's no two ways about it. He's in the MVP conversation. Well, yeah.
And Mayfield.
Yeah, of course.
So I guess you know what bothered me is, are you by yourself or is Anthony there?
No, he's unfortunately he's under the weather today.
Oh, it's too bad. I'm a little disappointed with the way they stack gifts upon gifts upon gifts for the one bye team that's allowed this year. That's horrible. The fact that they get a bye, they get a rest. They're the only team that gets a bye and a rest. And then in the second round, they get the lowest of the low to start the playoffs with.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's been that way forever and a day. I mean,
when they had two byes, I could see that because both teams drew. That's after the first round. There were two teams left, and they placed them accordingly.
Yeah.
But there's only one bye team this year, so theoretically, somebody could have a really tough team in the first round, and then get stuck with a tough team in the second round because the poor little Chiefs have to,
Well, it's not just listen. It's not just the Chiefs; it's also the Packers. I mean, could you imagine if Chicago upsets New Orleans? They get to play the Bears.
Well, you know what, and I'm not overly angry about it. I just think it's really weird the way they do. It seems just too much of an advantage for them. But here's what I'd love to see. I would love to see, especially after what Green Bay did yesterday, playing their guys long. The Bills playing their guys appropriately, keeping momentum, gaining momentum, if nothing else. I would love to see the Chiefs go into their first game having to face the Ravens.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this could very well be a possibility. I mean, and all that needs to happen is obviously the 2 and the 3 both win, and that's Buffalo and Pittsburgh. And then it doesn't matter who wins the 4 versus the 5. They are slotted against Kansas City. So if the Ravens upset the Titans, as long as a 6 or a 7 don't win their games, Kansas City does get the lowest team. That would be the 5. That would be Baltimore. And look, I mean, even if it's chalk, Tony, the Titans, they've got a pretty damn good running back in the big fella out there. That's a matchup problem. The Ravens have been playing unbelievably good football. That could be a matchup problem. So but that's only predicated if the Bills and Steelers both win their games. Because if they don't,
right, and
then that gets thrown out the window.
And that's why I have to be a Steelers fan this week.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, obviously the first thing on everyone's mind if you're a Bills fan, you got to beat the Colts. Otherwise, then Kansas City's playing Indianapolis, and we're home for the playoffs, and then that's
I don't want
the
to
end
get a call from McDermott. I don't want to get a call from McDermott that we're looking ahead. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not. Listen, the only team I'm interested in this week is Indianapolis, and I think they're going to give Buffalo everything they want and then some. The fact that Frank Reich is bringing his team into Orchard Park, and it was announced on the 28th anniversary of the greatest comeback in the history of playoff football that Frank Reich led in Orchard Park. I think that it's the football god, small g, having a sense of humor.
Yeah, but, I looked ahead to the weather, and it is the playoffs, granted, and they do have Darius Leonard on defense, and they have a freakishly good offensive line led by Quentin Nelson. They've got some real talent, and I love Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Love the kid.
Yeah, the last 7 weeks, he has balled out his last 7 weeks.
Well, not just that. He's one of those kids you just like.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just one of those good kids. And so, yeah. But I think our defense, if anybody's riding momentum right now, it's our defense.
Well, keep everyone healthy. I mean, and again, this is, and I brought this up, Tony. COVID is going to have a whole lot to say with who wins and who loses, because nobody's making any changes. You're going to go with what you have. And if you're scheduled to play Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock and Friday something happens to Buffalo or Indianapolis, oh, well, you play with who you have.
You did notice that a lot of the Dolphins are running around maskless, and Josh Allen was very well clad with his mask.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you better start wearing that. If you're not wearing it now, you better start wearing it now, because again, COVID is going to it may very well be the difference between who moves on in the playoffs and who doesn't. I mean, think about this. I mean, if someone were to have an all-wide receiver outbreak like Cleveland did prior to their game against the Jets, could you imagine a team having to go to their practice squad roster to get your wide receivers for the game? And maybe,
well, apparently we can go to the practice squad roster if you're the Bills.
Well, yeah, and maybe that's the reason why they signed Kenny Stills to a contract. I don't know. Maybe it's because Beasley's injury is a little more serious, or maybe John Brown's injury where he left the game, maybe that's a little more serious. I don't know. All I know is Kenny Stills signed with the Bills, and there's a reason behind it.
Have you heard anything on John Brown? I just thought I caught something, but I didn't. Maybe it was just timing, but did it look like he may have gotten hurt or not?
I haven't heard anything. Which
okay.
All I heard was this morning that Kenny Stills signed a deal with the Bills.
Well, he was going to do that. He was going to do that 2-3 weeks ago, before John Brown had to go through the COVID deal, and he was having good practices during the week. So I just think it's just, hey, you got a chance to grab an All-Pro, grab him.
Yeah, no question. And by the way, he's not the only one that was signed. Tanner Gentry was also signed up on the practice squad. Gary Jennings and J.J. Nelson are gone. Tanner Gentry and Kenny Stills are going to be on the practice squad. And I guess Gentry has played with Josh Allen in college.
Oh, is that the kid? So this kid has some history?
Yeah, he has some history with Allen. Yeah, he
had Allen history. Did he have pro experience?
No, Gentry played with Allen at Wyoming. That's all the experience he has.
Well, interesting. That seems like a big reach. Then I don't care how good he was. But so who do you compare? Do you compare John Allen and Stills or John Brown and Stills as comparable receivers?
I mean, look. Stills and Brown share the same thing, and it's speed. Brown at this stage is probably a little bit better than Stills, but they share the same trait, and that's they're fast, and they can take the top off of an offense. Both of them can with their speed or off their defense. Yeah.
Yeah. One real quick point about Stills, and I did watch some video because I never really followed him that closely. He doesn't have great hands. Well,
there's a reason why he hasn't been in the NFL since he was released.
Yeah, he doesn't have great hands, and he doesn't. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Watch some video on him, and it's easily correctable if he's willing to make the effort. But I don't know if he's he's been playing football for 20 years. I don't know if he's willing to make any changes at this point.
It'll be interesting to see what happens, and hopefully, hopefully they don't need Kenny Stills. If they don't, then that's a good sign that Buffalo's healthy and ready to go. But like I said, maybe it's a COVID thing. Maybe it's just in case. Maybe it's if in emergency, break the glass and get Kenny Stills into the ball game. I don't know.
Maybe one of the best win-win trades in the history of the NFL. Justin Jefferson for Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Everybody won there.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the Vikings won. The Bills obviously won. And all these people that said Steph Diggs was going to be a diva. He hadn't been a diva. I mean, he's very good with his dental hygiene, too. So,
That was hilarious. What's the guy doing?
I mean, I was just looking at that. I was like, is this dude really flossing his teeth on the sidelines? What the hell is going on here?
If nothing else, this is a fun team to watch. They're just fun. They're having a good time. They're really enjoying themselves, and they love each other, man. Do you see when Antonio Williams scores?
Yeah.
And this is a practice squad, guys. And the linemen are so ecstatic for the guy.
Yeah, it's a fun team. It's a really, really fun team. And again, you and I were talking yesterday. Okay, it's time for him to sit all the regulars. Time for him to sit the regulars, and he's playing the regulars in the first half, and I felt like I was watching the Mexican from the movie The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, where he's looking at the guy and he says, "Baches, we don't need no stinking baches." So it's like McDermott's like, injuries. We don't have no injuries. We don't need no stinking injuries. Like,
you know what? A great play, and I didn't expect him to come back in, but it was a great play when the opportunity presented itself. Anytime you could get a 2-minute offense opportunity, you take it. And he put Josh Allen in to end the first half. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was a great win and a good job by them all the way around. And they'll have their hands full on Saturday, and I'm just looking forward to seeing some great playoff football. And hopefully Saturday afternoon at about 4:30, I'm not in a foul mood.
But we won't take anything for granted. But go Steelers, and later in the week we got to talk about it. Take a chance. I want to talk about, or maybe we'll wait till after the season. Your choice. I want to compare Josh Allen's numbers last year to this year, and
it's staggering.
Can you remember a quarterback who's made that leap?
None that comes to mind. I mean, I'd have to go back into the 80s. Elway from year 2 to year 3 had a pretty large step in the right direction as well. But but that's a different era. I mean, the offense finally started becoming a focal part of football around 2000. So I mean, you got to compare quarterbacks from 2000 moving forward, and I can't think of one quarterback that had this big of a jump in stats from year 2 to year 3. I'd have to think about it though.
Here's a scary thing. If you think of it, it's been a linear growth. He made this jump from 1 to 2, and then he made the same jump from 2 to 3.
I'd make the argument he made an even bigger jump.
He may not have plateaued yet.
Yeah, I think he made a bigger jump from 2 to 3 than 1 to 2.
It was 52 to 58, 6 points, and then 10 points in completion percentage this year. But the interceptions dropped linearly, I think, from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been fun. I know that.
It'd be scary if he hasn't plateaued yet, but that's next year's dream.
Hey, listen, I'm just glad that the Bills didn't listen to me when I said avoid Josh Allen at all costs. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. Thank God nobody in Orchard Park took that one seriously.
Well, you know what? I got to give you credit, because when you came back from the Browns game last year and you had an opportunity to see this kid in person, you had a totally different perspective on it.
There's no two ways about that. And again, when you see a game in person, you see 1,000,001 things that you don't see on TV. And I came back with a much better appreciation for him, and there's a much better appreciation for Mayfield as well, because Mayfield was nowhere near as bad a quarterback as I thought after I saw a game in person.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Cleveland wins that, or the Bills win that game, and they win a few other games last year if they have Tyler Bass also.
Well, look, I mean, it's that guy's been pretty incredible as well, and I'm glad that we have Bass and not Parkey. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, well, is Parkey still on the Browns?
He's still on the Browns. Yeah, he's definitely still on the Browns. I got a buddy of mine whose kid is a senior at Hardin-Simmons, which is an FCS school in Abilene, Texas. And he's about to break all of their school records for field goal kicking and whatnot. And I really, really hope he's never going to get drafted, but he has a 50-plus yard range. And I really hope someone gives him an opportunity, because
the kid who I'm shocked that his name's slipping my mind right now. The kid who never got a shot this year anywhere, and I think he was scheduled to play XFL at the end of the season last year, was the kicker for LSU. The kid who came out of the D3 Catholic school in the Northeast somewhere.
Yeah.
And he kicked for LSU as a grad transfer his senior year, and tore it up. Now, he didn't have a great leg, but he was ridiculously accurate. But he never got a shot.
No, it's you better, just like in anything in the top stage, the kicker has to be 50-plus yard leg. It's kind of that's the equivalent of throwing mid-90s fastball in Major League Baseball. If you don't have an arm that throws mid-90s in baseball,
that's the threshold.
Yeah. The scouts are going to look at it and say, well, I'm not interested in you unless you have 2 or 3 pitches that are Major League type of pitches. You better have an arm that can throw mid-90s. Well, in the NFL, they're not interested in anybody that doesn't have a leg inside of 50 yards.
Speaking of kickers, the Titans game yesterday, the kid from Miami of Ohio
was
kicking.
Yeah, the Doink Fest.
The kid came out there, and I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, this kid does not look like a professional kicker.
Yeah, and go figure. The 37-yard field goal hits the upright and hits it at an angle. Yeah, hit it at an angle.
I was anxious for that kid. He was so. You saw him folding up his tee.
Yeah.
And playing with the ball, and he's supposed to be on the field. Come on, get out there, guy. He didn't know which way to turn when he went out there. I was so nervous for the kid.
Yeah, and when the ball, it looked like the ball wasn't going to go through, and you could see him slump his shoulders, and then all of a sudden the ball hit the corner of the upright and then went through. It hit the corner of the upright and then went through to the other side of the crossbar, and you see this kid just celebrating like crazy. That was awesome.
Well, you want perspective on that though. They cut away to the sideline with Derrick Henry walking off the field.
Yeah.
And he's just shaking his head like, I gained 250 yards today.
And it comes
and
to
you're
this.
Bouncing balls through the upright, shaking his head. I'm thinking, that kid would have had to. Were they at home, Titans, or they? Oh,
no, they were in
Texas,
Houston.
right?
Yeah, they were in Houston.
Oh, that kid would have walked home.
Yeah, no two ways about it. Tony, thanks for the call, brother.
Hey, have a great day.
See ya. All right, Power Hour coming up with DJ and the fellas. Oh, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of interesting, saucy talk about the Browns and Steelers playing a third game this year. Just a little prediction for here. I'm sure there's a couple of Browns fans on the cast of characters, and I know DJ's a Steeler fan. Yeah, this should be entertaining.